Hello and welcome to You Are the Phoenix Rising podcast with your hosts, Jaimie Ann and Jose. In today's episode, we will be covering various controversial areas in the field of spirituality, shattering the myths, misconceptions, and untruths, lifting the veil and bringing you back into a space of love, oneness, and truth that is within us all. So Jose is actually a client of mine, and I've done a lot of healing sessions and I've given him a lot of spiritual guidance and a lot of readings. Jose, tell us a bit about you.
Well, again, Jaimie, thank you for having me here. So basically, as a little kid, I went to many churches. My parents were always bouncing around, Catholic, Christian, Jehovah's Witness, you name it. Any church we went to. So I started to see a trend of churches throughout my lifetime. It just, something was missing. There's a lot of things that didn't make sense. Especially when I started asking questions, it just didn't correlate. I feel something was more out there. Deep inside my soul, I knew more information had to do with spirituality and people's gifts. And that's where I was looking for somebody like your gifts to guide me in life, which helped a lot.
It's been such an honor guiding you along the way and watching you grow. Honestly, it's been such a pleasure guiding you in that process. And I'm so honored to be able to help you in that way,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So did you want to share a little bit about the healings that I've given you, or that, what you feel about how much my services have offered?
Mm-hmm. So basically, I guess I have to go deep to the nitty and gritty, which was how I got into the spiritual area of, talking to mediums. Because deep inside, I always knew, like, hey, you know what, that's a cool gift, but the church always taught you to, or always told us that, like, hey, like, that is work of the devil. Like, don't, if anything that's not within the church and it's of, let's call it powers, because they call it, powers that, these people have, it's the devil, it's work of the devil, etc. So I had a lady that was one of my friends for salsa dancing, and went to her house to go practice with another friend, and she told me she was a psychic, she was a medium, and I think she felt when I got like a little scared. I was like, you're a medium, because the church always taught you, hey, like, this is work of the devil, etc. But I guess she felt it and told me, hey, no, look, like, all I do is talk with angels, angel oracles, etc. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. And I mean, she was a nice lady. Like, the vibe was good, etc. She did a card reading for me, and it was pretty accurate. That's where, like, I started opening up to this of, like, hey, there's people with gifts. It's just that, the conflict is, there's a lot of people that claim to be mediums, and it was just filtering out who was a real medium or who was good at it and who was just trying to pretend. And, that's always the gimmick. That's always a challenge, is finding a good medium.
There's just so many to weed through, unfortunately. Do you know what I mean? Because there are a lot of fakes out there. There are a lot of people that do go out and scam people, and it ruins people's perception of it all. So there's this massive conflict, not just about that, but like you addressed when you just said about people's approach to it all being evil and doing the devil's work and stuff like that. Like, we have to, as a medium, we have to take a lot of stick. And with these con artists out there that do fake and that do sort of scam people for money and prey on the people that have lost people and they're desperate and they want to hear from their loved one, like, it gives us a really bad name. And I find that really does get in a way with people opening up to what exactly exists that is so much more than this.
It is a challenge, because there's people I talk to, they're like, oh yeah, I'm a medium, there's this guy that he told me to go to his house because I don't know, I got into conversation with him at work, and he was a client, and he told me, hey, come to my house, I'll help you out. I'm like, okay, I'll go to your house. I'll go to his house, and he has candles, etc. And you could tell he's some kind of, I want to say, like a Mexican, kind of medium, because I guess they're all different cultures, mediums, etc. And but he told me, hey, I could help you, like, bring abundance of money. All you got to do is bring $200. I'm gonna put it in this pot or this candle, and we're gonna pray to it, and you gotta leave it here, and and eventually it's gonna happen, And I was like, wait, like $200, like I'm probably not gonna see you again, like it's
Mm.
yeah, I just felt it was a little bit sketchy. I mean, maybe that was an actual thing, but to me at that time, I just couldn't afford to put $200 at someone's stranger's house.
And I'm not, obviously I don't know every single practice. Spirituality is so vast, especially with things like that.
Mhm.
But in my perception of it all, it looks like he wanted to charge you $200 to light a candle.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I know intention candles can be very powerful, but putting it in that way, you've got to put this $200 in the candle or it won't bring you money. Like, that to me screams out scam,
Yeah. It's like, how about I just draw it up, in a little paper. This is a $200 note, and then put it on there. I put
or
Federal
burn it.
Reserve. Yeah, I put Federal Reserve on there, and maybe sketch out the, George Washington, or who's on the $100 bill. Oh, Franklin. Who is it? Not Thomas Jefferson. Franklin.
Okay.
So, so yeah, I could just, on my mind, I could have just throw it up and then put it in there, and it would have been the same thing. But I just could not afford at that time
Mm.
to leave $200 at a stranger's house. It just, it didn't. And that is where, the filtering of psychics, of mediums, is the challenge, And after that, I really didn't look for it. I guess I kind of just gave up. And it wasn't until I was talking, I one of my ex-girlfriends, I met her, and we started talking. And at the beginning, I knew she was some kind of person with gifts. I knew she was some kind of medium. And yeah, she was honest with me and told me, hey, I'm have you ever heard of a Hyoka medium?
Yeah.
Okay. So according to her definitions, is one of the very powerful mediums, and tarot reader.
Mm.
And she read my cards, and read the cards of friends, not to them, but to me, describing them. And she was on point. And that's where I was like, okay, this is real.
Mm.
This is very real, and that's where, long story short, you know, she would read cards all the time, and it was like very beneficial, because
Mm.
sometimes, you get into situations with friends, or with a loved one, and they don't even know their own emotions. They don't know what they're
Yeah.
like. They could think that they feel this way because of so and so. It might be something else.
Mhm.
So just how you mentioned, you want to get a perspective of different angles.
Mhm.
It's like shooting a movie. You get an angle here, an angle there, an angle over there, and basically, like, you could get a better understanding of the situation. And
Mhm.
I'm a firm believer of, the more you know, or the the more information, accurate information you are told, the better decisions you can make.
Yeah.
So after that, me and her relationship did not work out. So after that, she just cut me off, just blocked me out of everything, and I just didn't have that help anymore.
Mhm.
So that's when I went into the web. I got into Facebook, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to go through a couple people to find the right medium,
Mhm.
but I mean, it's worth it. Like, the benefits are worth it. So I went through it. I went to Facebook. I think I started adding Facebook groups where they basically talk about spirituality, etc. And somebody asked about mediums. and there was 3 mediums that were like was mentioned more than once, and one of them was you.
Mhm.
And I guess I was just guided. I just clicked on you and then sent you a message, and yeah, and that's how we connected. And how I knew that you were pretty good, you were very good, was because how accurate you are on the information. It's like nobody else is going to know this. Nobody else is going to know the situation and me in a conflict with a person, or a situation where we were misunderstood, etc. And like you knew the gist of it, of what happened, you
Mhm.
know, and basically how people were feeling,
Mhm.
etc. And that's how I feel like I made a very correct decision, and keeping the relationship, because it was very accurate, and the information that came from the accuracy of solutions, etc., was very good as well, because it's helped me in a lot of relationships where before, I just didn't understand what they were feeling, and their definition of something might be different from my definition of something,
Mhm.
you know, or they might see something differently than I might see something differently. And I needed those different camera angles to help me with these relationships, where in other instances, if I didn't have this guidance, I would just be, you know what, the heck with this. Like, let's just finish, like, let's break up and I'll go look for somebody else and start all over again.
Mhm.
But we can't really do that. We can't really just throw something away because it's malfunctioning and try to look for something new, you
Yeah,
know?
sometimes you need that different angle, don't you? And
Yes.
I'm just so grateful that I'm able to do that. I'm able to tap into what that person is feeling, the whole situation. I can access past, present, future, past lives. Like honestly, there's no end. You've had all kinds of readings with me, haven't you?
Exactly. And that's what was most exciting, was that, like, it's just you came in you buy one, you get 3 things free, meaning like there's so many gifts that you have that, you know, the help that I was able to get was vast.
Mhm.
And, the biggest thing that you helped me with, which, I'm forever grateful, was, the stomach situation I had for about 10 years.
Mhm.
You know, I've, long story short, I had a stomach situation that we went to doctors, etc., and they all were basically saying that it's nothing wrong, like it's just I'm just delusional, etc. And I've I knew I was not delusional, because I've researched in the web where people were feeling the same symptoms, feeling the same things, and describing the same scenarios. And the doctors were telling them, yeah, you're delusional, or like it might be this, it might be that, etc. I mean, all kinds of things. Every doctor is like a different perspective. It's an opinion, basically.
Mhm.
And I knew deep in my soul at that time, before I even talked to mediums, that I needed to talk to some kind of spiritual doctor.
Mhm.
This was not something that Western medicine could fix,
Mhm.
you know. Uh, but my luck, I was stuck in the US, where I was still adjusting my status for my green card, so I could not leave the country.
Mhm.
If I had a green card, I would just said, you know what, I'm going to deep in Mexico, or I'm going deep in Peru, and I'm gonna find a spiritual healer that could help me with this, because I knew it was not something of this realm, basically, or something that the Western medicine could fix. So
Mhm.
that's when I reached out to you, and basically, I'll be honest, I was very skeptical. It's very skeptical for someone to say, hey, yeah, I could help you heal, or or I could help you make that better, where using energy, you
Mhm.
know and but at that point, I was dealing with that for 10 years,
Mhm.
and I was more financially stable, where I was like, you know what, like, I'm ready to just try anything. I'm ready to try anything. And I'm a firm believer that process of elimination, you could get to the nitty and gritty, or you could get to the solution.
Mhm.
And that's what I did. When you said, hey, I could do remote healing, I said, okay, let's book it, let's go. I have nothing to lose. just so much to gain.
Sometimes all you need is that tiny little opening to really get through to someone, you know, like we are
Yes.
all entitled to being a skeptic, because you know what, there's a lot of people that haven't experienced anything like it. And something so vast, especially the fact that I am 5,000 miles away from you, and I'm sitting here in England and you're in America, like that's a lot for the mind to comprehend, you
Yes.
know. So like, this is why I don't necessarily get angry with skeptics. I actually end up leading to them opening their minds. All it takes is a tiny little, you know, tiny little opening there, you know, like. So I'm so glad that you was able to give it a try, you know.
Yeah, yes. And honestly, it was one of the best decisions I ever made. And, I, after having this, after you helping me with this, I really want to help the outside world be more open to this, but it's a huge challenge. It's a big challenge, but it's not impossible. I think we are in the age of a spiritual awakening where people are starting to accept, or will be starting to accept, these new practices
Yeah.
that we think are new, but really they've been here for generations, because our history books from the Western world tell us that civilization is about, I don't know, like uh 30,000 years old.
They're
But
just coming back, you know, because
yes,
I feel like long ago it wasn't safe to practice all of this.
it's not.
We was demonized, killed. Like, you know, if
Hmm.
I lived back then, which I very may well have had a past life back then, but if
Hmm.
I was alive, this current version of me was alive back then, I would have been killed, you
Yep.
know.
Yep.
And I work with the energy of God, the creator, that unconditional love of the, you know, the universe, to heal. So all of these people that was here doing this work were killed, and a lot of the practices had to go underground, so to speak. Do you know what I mean? So we're finally in a state today where the world is safe to practice, but we still get a lot of stick because there is all these misconceptions with different religions and this war on who's right and who's wrong, you know. But the energy, the vibration of the planet and the energy and everything that people have gone through the past few years with COVID and everything like that, it's forced people to awaken. So even something so horrible has woken people up to the bigger picture, you know, because a lot of people these days, it starts off with it not sitting right in their soul. Something just doesn't feel right. And we will go into that in a minute. And, you know, because I've had experiences on how I felt about religion. But, you know, we're finally safe to freely embrace our spirituality, you know, now. So it's like all of the old practices coming back.
Exactly. And I'm a very logical person. I use logic and reasoning. And the biggest logic and reasoning that I've come to a conclusion for this situation is that, again, if you want to go back to God, the Christian God, or the God of the Eastern world, which, like, we say Muhammad or Buddha, etc. Like, the if we could go back to what they preach, is that everything around us is given by God. Anything that grows out of the ground naturally it's given by God. It's a gift to humanity.
Mhm.
The people around us that are given to us, when we encounter them for whatever situation, they're here for whatever reason. It was sent by God, in other words, because God created us all.
Mhm.
So when I think about mediums, spiritual spiritual advisors, I call it, and other people see it as witches. um they were they were giving us you guys were given to us by God,
Mhm.
basically. It's, you guys' gifts were you guys didn't ask for this. You guys were naturally born with these gifts to help humanity, and God gave you guys those gifts, and there's nothing you guys could do. And
Yeah.
it's very sad how these religions, categorize you guys as like, work of the devil or witches, etc. When
Yeah.
in reality, you guys were given to us to help humanity grow spiritually, mentally, emotionally, etc. And it's just, misconception that we are here to change.
Absolutely. And as a medium myself, my journey has not been easy. Me coming to terms with my gifts, like you said,
Mm-hmm.
we didn't ask for them. We
Mm-hmm.
was given these gifts by God, whether we
Mm-hmm.
liked it or not.
Mm-hmm.
I was born into a line, like my mom is a medium,
Mm-hmm.
and we have Romani gypsy blood in our family. It was my mom's grandmother that was part of the Romani gypsy culture. The ways wasn't passed down due to various reasons, which I won't go into. But the gifts very much run in my bloodline. And from the age of like even 7, even before 7, I remember as a little girl, I'd be in my room at night and I could sense spirit all around me. Like I could sense it. I would be scared to walk in areas on my own because I would see faces at the window and stuff like that, and quite a lot of places that we lived in, it was haunted. There was spirit there, and it scared me. I didn't want my gifts. I remember
Mm-hmm.
one day I sat down with my mom and I was like, Mom, like, this is what I'm experiencing. And she's like, Jaimie, you don't understand. You're really gifted. It's a gift. But it terrified me. I didn't want it. And I said to my mom, I looked at it as more of a curse than a gift. And in that day, she showed me how to shut it down. And that is how I spent like a big chunk of my younger life. But I still knew things. I embraced the whole psychic side of things eventually, but there was a lot of times where I was in denial of it all, even though I could see, feel, sense spirit. I've seen things move, like I've been around it like all my life, with
Mm-hmm.
my mum being a medium. It was this coping mechanism to protect myself, and I shut it away. One day I remember I got my first job. I was working in a shoe shop, and I used to smoke back then. And I was out the back smoking a cigarette, and it was the back bit of the shop was desolate. It was where the lorries came in and unloaded all the products and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I was on this little, it was up high on this little deck bit, and I was there, and all of a sudden this man appeared. I didn't see him approach. He was just there, like next to the section next to me. And he looked at me and he was like, you're really gifted, aren't you? You suffer with a lot of headaches, because I used to suffer with so many headaches, like so
Mm-hmm.
much. And he was like, so you do know, this was before I started embracing the psychic side, right? He said, you do know that you are very gifted, and because you're not using your gifts, this is what is causing the headaches. And he went in to explain that I had a Native American spirit guide and bits and pieces about him. And we had a conversation. And then I looked away for 1 minute and looked back, and he was gone. There's no way that he could have walked out of that area. You could see the whole place. He was gone. As quickly as he appeared, he disappeared. And
So
I know that might feel sound crazy to some people, but I swear to God, like that was like an angel or a spirit guide manifested in that form, and that day it did plant the seed within me. Then I started to embrace the whole psychic side. When I was 12 years old, a bit younger than that, there was some situations where my mom was doing a reading and I was in the room, and I would naturally pick up on things for the person she was reading for. So I had done a little bit of that, but the experiences that I experienced after sort of went me into a period of fear, So this experience of that man, it really woke something up within me, and it, you know, and it really helped me to at least embrace that part of me more. But, you know, eventually I had a spiritual awakening, and I had done readings before for friends and family, but not professionally. I was on point, but nowhere near what I am like today. But I had a spiritual awakening, and my whole life changed. My gifts got so much stronger, to the point where I was forced pretty much to go and join a psychic development circle, because I had flashes, like visions of what this man did to some children, and it was horrible. He'd abused them. So I eventually went to this psychic development circle, and of course that involves embracing the spirit side of things. And it didn't actually occur to me at first. I was just there to learn to protect myself and stuff. I didn't, even though it's part of the package, at the time it didn't really sink in, because I was there because I was just desperate to learn to protect myself more, because everything that I was taught didn't work for me. My gifts were so much stronger than that. So I went there and started embracing the spirit side of things. And then so many more gifts just blossomed. And I realized that I could do things that I never even imagined possible. You know, I had experiences with angels. I could astral travel to a coma realm and you know, help people come back to their body and wake up out of a coma. Like, it's just took me on this really incredible journey. But along the way, like I said before, I have faced so much adversity because of it. You know, I've had people come on my lives and start commenting like, oh, you're doing the devil's work. This is evil. You're going against God. And you know what? Someone that's starting out, it's very hard to fully let your gifts be seen when you have feared them for a large part of your life. And when you first start out and you have someone come to you like that, it's really not nice. It shakes you up. There was times that I even doubted myself, and I had to push through that and get through that. And it was so difficult, so difficult. And even some people that I knew, like, they were saying the same to me, like, you need to go find Jesus. But little did they know, I actually had experiences encountering Jesus in spirit when I was learning quantum healing. He just came and he assisted me. I have this amazing connection with the angels and Jesus and God, and my gifts ultimately led me to believing in God again when I had lost my faith for years, you know. But I'll tell you a bit more about why that is and everything in a minute. But basically, it's been a rough ride. And like you said, we are given these gifts by God to help people to heal, to help people to grow and transcend beyond all their limitations. Like, the work I do is so incredible to be able to guide in this way. And I'm so grateful to God. I'm so grateful that I was chosen to walk this path. And a lot of mediums out there, when they're starting out, like, they have to face so much, and it's not fair. And this is why it needs to be recognized more. That yes, there are people out there that do work from the darkness.
Yes.
You know, they work with dark spirits, but there are a hell of a lot of us that connect with the light, and then some that connect directly with God, which is how my gifts eventually developed. You know, like, I eventually developed to that from working with angels. Angels was the very first, but it is so underestimated, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
You
It
know?
is. And you know, I was doing more research on you know, ancient times, and see, you know, where you guys were hidden as a basically a sort of, I feel like sort of like second class or minority citizens, because if you look at the ancient Roman stories or books that they write about, you know, the history of the Roman Empire and the generals, they use what was called oracles.
Mm.
It was basically mediums that they would talk to. Politicians would talk to mediums, spiritual mediums, which you could call them witches, you could call them spiritual mediums. It just depends whose opinion, or who is how somebody's viewing them.
Or
to
how the
want to
person
name them.
practices. Absolutely.
Exactly. So you had Roman generals talking to mediums before going to a war. You had Roman politicians talking to mediums before making a decision on a vote or making a decision on some kind of legislation. It's just that as we started moving westward, I feel like the Americas was like a perfect spot to start all over. Meaning, for the religions to get there first and establish a foundation and put everybody in a bubble. Because these practices, or these, or you guys as mediums, as spiritual advisors, it's been very popular in history. If we're talking about the Roman Empire, we're talking about the Chinese, the Japan, the India, etc. It is a very well-known and accepted practice. It's just when it comes to the Western world, it is seen as going against God, going against just the religions. And I have a big theory that when it comes to these religions, they basically do the same thing too, but it's only if they approve it. For example, you have preachers that line up a whole bunch of people that are kind of sick or something, or they have something wrong with them, and he kind of touches them and then basically like says a couple prayers and says, in the name of God, and then boom, they get healed. That ain't any different from what you guys do. They're doing the same thing.
Because we channel the energy from God.
Exactly. We are everything around us. Yes, it comes from God. And it's okay if the church does it, because it retains its people. But I feel like if the religions and the churches, if their people find out that they could get this same kind of work outside of the church, it's conflict of interest, just like any company, any corporation. They're gonna be like, no, like you can't go over there because so-and-so, whatever excuse it is. In this case, it's, that's work of our enemy, the devil, or it's negative energies, etc. And it's basically I feel like the churches need to do that or these religions need to do that so they could retain people. It's all about information. If they could get the information somewhere else, people are going to leave, but it's all about retaining people. It's all about filling seats. It's all about keeping memberships.
It's also about, I feel like religions, they spread a lot of fear.
Yes.
A lot of it's fear-based. You know what has never made sense to me is that in a lot of religions, I'm not saying all religions, but in a lot of religions, we are taught to fear God. We must fear God. We must repent. Everything that we do is a sin. And I get it. Some people do wrong. Yeah. And bad things are wrong. But things like, connecting with God and helping people grow and heal and doing exactly the kind of work that Jesus and the prophets in the Bible, and you've got Moses, he channeled God, he spoke to God. There is angels and prophesying, which is being psychic. Like all of those gifts are rooted in the Bible. And what I've never been able to understand is why do they demonize it when it's actually in the text? Yes, it does say, I'm not, I don't know, I can't quote the chapter in the verse or whatever.
I understand it. It's a thick book, so
yeah. It does say in parts of the Bible about it being bad, but what people need to realize is the Bible was altered so many times.
Yes.
And I'm not saying that Bible isn't true. I've just bought a Bible for my son, and I'm starting to read it with him, a youth Bible, and it actually, it's good. There's a lot of truth in it. However, there is some untruths and a lot of things left out, and a lot of things have been altered to breed separation and fear. But my experience with God in the purest essence is love, not fear. Fear keeps you away from God. Coming into a vibration of love. And that's what God is in the highest essence, is unconditional love. And look how Jesus walked with so many people that would be shunned by society, people that had done wrong. He
Yes.
had this unconditional love. So
Amen.
my qualms with Christianity is that, why don't they breed that too? You know, like in the past, I'd wanted to go to church, you know, not saying that my religion, my ultimate religion is love at the end of the day. You know, I follow God, I follow the light. Always, everything that I do, I stand in the light and I work with God. God flows through me in amazing ways. But yet, if I walked into a church and told them what I do, they would brand me as a witch and say that I'm sinning and working with the devil. And I really want people to open their minds. I really do. And don't get me wrong, I'm not against Christianity. I'm really not. Like, we're not here today. This is not the purpose of this podcast, to breed hate. Quite the opposite. I want people to wake up to their light. God is within everybody. It says in the Bible, he made us in his image. And he did. We have so much power that God gave us. And a lot with manifesting and stuff is, you know, using that power that God gave everybody. And I think that is a really powerful thing, you know. And my purpose, part of my purpose here in this realm, is to wake people up to their power, wake people up to their light. I'm done with separation. I want to share a bit about my experience with Christianity, if that's okay, just real quick.
Sure.
My background with it all. I was raised as a Christian, and I used to live in America. And, you know, like, America's like the Bible Belt of the world, you know.
It is, especially the South.
Definitely. Yeah, it was in the South. I grew up, like, when I lived over there, I lived in the South. I lived in Alabama. And I experienced a lot of amazing experiences when I went to, I think it was Pentecostal. Is that the one where they speak in tongues?
Pentecostal, yes.
Yeah.
The Holy Ghost.
Yeah. And I experienced the Holy Ghost at a very young age, right? And it was amazing. Like, so I knew that God exists, and I could feel it. You could feel it when you walk in those churches. You know, it's amazing. But, you know, we didn't always go to Pentecostal. We went to Baptist as well, you know, so I've experienced different denominations. But, you know, I believed in God. You know, I was raised as a Christian, but for some reason, there felt like there was something missing. Like, it wasn't the whole truth. Certain things just didn't feel right to me, you know? And what I'm later realizing is that, you know, now I've had this spiritual awakening, and I've experienced, you know, other realms, angels, you know, like I said, I found God in what I do. My eyes are open to the fact of the things that are wrong in it, you know. And, you know, looking back now, I intuitively knew that. I lost my faith when I was 18, and I was in an abusive relationship. And when I got with him, so don't get me wrong, you know, I had faith before, but something did feel off, you know, there was just something didn't feel right. And then when I was 18, I got with my son's dad, and he wasn't religious, and he literally tore it out of me, my faith in God. He tore down my faith in God, right? And I lost my faith completely. And it was really difficult for me, because after that, I desperately wanted to believe in a higher power. I desperately wanted to believe in a higher power. But it was so hard for me. Like, my logical mind and the things that didn't feel right, mixed with the abuse that I encountered, and, you know, how I was brainwashed into not believing and stuff like that. And it was difficult. And for a while, like, I thought that this was all there is, you know, and it was such a horrible feeling for me. But looking back deep down, like, there was always that niggling feeling that that God was real. And that is why I strongly wanted to believe, but it was just a mixture of so many things for me. And then when I found God in his the highest essence, it woke me up, and everything made sense. Everything made sense. And I found these abilities within me that God gave me. I realized that it wasn't a curse. It was the most precious gift to be in touch with in this way and relay these messages onto people. And I've devoted my life to it, So, yeah, there's just so much that there's all this war between whose religion is right and whose is wrong. But there was truth in all religion.
Yes.
There's truth in all religion. And we're not meant to be so separate. We're meant to be in a space of oneness. And like I said, love.
And, and in all due respect to, for example, I'm going to use the Bible or the Quran as, one of the biggest, how you call it? It's the biggest religions in the world. Again, all due respect to them, but just logically, just speaking, or logically just looking at it from, different angles, different perspectives, is, these books are certain much thick, they're about this thick. I mean, I don't know how many inches, but there's bigger math books than that, as big, thicker math books, thicker history books, etc. So my point is that not all the information is going to be there. I'm a true believer that God gave that as a startup, just like anything else, like, a startup for, for camping, or a startup for, to make your own kitchen, etc. But you have the freedom and the mind to learn everything else that's missing, that's still out there. The information is vast. The information is infinite. For example, like numbers. There is no last number. There is no, you can't get to the last number. It's infinite. So if numbers are infinite, then information should reflect it as well. So I basically, challenge everybody to look for all other sources of information. These books are basically your guidelines. Like there's I'm gonna give you an example: 5,599. That's a rough estimate. Religions in the world. Everybody claims that they are the one. And I feel it comes more from like the institutions that run all these religions, all these beliefs. The board members, the people in control. Just like any manager, their job is retention, to keep people. Like any business, any cable company, like their job is to retain people. So it is logical that they're going to put rules in there where they prevent you from opening your mind to see what the other religions doing and what their belief is, etc., and exploring it, because they're afraid to lose you. This is a system that's been put since the beginning of religions, where they all have this defense mechanism in which they protect. It's like a protection. It's a retention, invisible kind of fence to retain people, and it's the information they give them about the outside. It's the outside's wicked. The outside is the devil has them because they're not with us, etc. And that is what creates a separation. That is what creates the wars. So much blood has been spilled over religion. It's insane.
Absolutely.
It's insane. So it's like all these religions, our religions preach, hey, love one another, love God, etc. But then they're fighting over who's right, and it's spilling blood over it to the masses, when we could take all that energy and try to understand each other. trying to
Yeah.
understand each other, trying to grow together. I see it as, basically, the religion you are, or basically the religion that it's engraved in you, is basically having to do, or a big part of it is the environment where you grew up, the cultural dominant religion where you grew up. Because I'll give you an example. What are the chances that you're born in the middle of some province in China, and you're going to be a Pentecostal?
Mhm.
Slim to none. So psychologists say, from the age of 1 to 7, it's when a child engraves their programming. Their subconscious mind is basically created.
Mhm.
So from 1 to 7, and also too, is when you could the easiest time that you could pick up a language. So that's why it's a lot harder to learn the language in your adult stage than it is from 1 to 7. So 1 to 7 is where you could do the deep engravings of your subconscious mind programming.
Mhm.
So if you pick up a certain religion because you were raised in an area that's dominant in that culture, um, you know, and you end up, an adult, and a Christian sees you as like, hey, like, you're not part of us, or you're not part of our belief, or our God, so you're gonna go to hell. Is that really their fault? Let's say Christianity is correct,
Mhm.
and they're the real, they're the only ones that are right. Is a person that was born in the middle of some small Chinese farm, is it their fault that the Christian God did not get to them? It just doesn't make any sense.
Mhm.
So if you dig deeper, just how you said, our religions have a lot of things in common, you
Mhm.
know, and for example, the big flood. All of them talk about the big flood. Ancient civilizations, the Mayans, the Sumerians, they all talk about a flood that just took over the planet. That is one of the biggest examples of of the same thing they all talk about, or same story. There's many more, but just that's the main one I like to grasp, because it's undeniable that a big flood happened around the world, and all religions are on the same page,
Mhm.
or all beliefs are on the same page that happened.
I believe they
So
even found what they believe to be an ark
yes,
in the exact place that it says in the Bible.
exactly. So it's all connected, intertwined with each
Mhm.
other. It's just that you won't find that information unless you go look for it.
It's like only half of the picture of the great span of things. It's like how religion also, sorry to, go off
Mhm.
topic, but religion also preaches the fact that when our loved ones die and come and visit us, and because they do, they're able, yes, they go to a higher realm, they go to heaven, like wherever we want to call it, they go to the spirit world and heaven. I've witnessed it myself. I've walked souls up there astrally,
Nice.
incredible. But they can also come to visit us and be around us. But Christianity says that that's a familiar spirit, that it's a demon trying to mess with you, and that really mediums are talking to demons and not their loved ones. But what I fail to understand is they believe that we're a soul, of course, because we go to heaven. Why don't they believe that their loved ones can also come and visit them and be around them? Because we have that choice.
Mm-hmm.
There are so many spirits, not just human spirits, but we'll talk about that in another podcast. But really, it is, the spirit world is so vast. The universe is so vast. And taught to fear the bigger picture keeps a lot of people asleep.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not against religion. We're not against different faiths. what we want to, like I said before, what we want to address is that it's part of the picture. But if we was to come together, I'm not saying leave religion. I'm not saying walk away from it. But what I'm saying is know that it's not all there is. There is so much more. And God wants us to realize our power. God wants us to create the life that we dreamed. We didn't come here to be a prisoner of pain. We didn't come here to beat ourselves up and brand ourselves as, sinners all the time. And I'm not saying bad things, it's that's okay. That's a different story. I'm talking about things like, what I do. Like the world it's hard when you are working for God, yeah, and yet you're branded someone that talks with the devil.
Mm-hmm.
You're shunned
It's insane.
in the
It's
world of
insane.
religion,
Mm-hmm.
But if only people realized that they can connect straight to Jesus, they can connect straight to God, they can connect straight to Buddha, in these prophets and these ascended masters and these angels. Like, why fear the angels? The angels are the most amazing beings. And I just want people to wake up and come into a space of love, because with all these wars that have been fought, like you said, all the blood spilled, all the hatred spread, then there's so many divides, but based on something that was ultimately based on love. How does it breed so much fear? And I'm sure to a lot of people, that's got to not feel right. There's families that shun their kids because they think that because they're part of the LGBTQ community, that they're going against God. There's parents that never speak to their own children again, their flesh and their blood. And it's not just the LGBTQ. There's so many different things that they look at differently, because of the way Christianity is. And, I just think that it's wrong. I think that it's wrong. And a lot of people that are shunned, that are branded as evil, that are misconceived, misperceived, they need a voice. It's about time they need a voice. And throughout my career as a psychic medium, there's a lot of things that I've not spoken about because I didn't want to offend anybody, because I don't exclude anybody. When you come to me for a session, I meet you with love. I don't meet you with judgment. No matter what your background is, no matter how lost in the dark you are, I guide people back to the light. I guide people back to a space of love. If someone came to me and admitted that they have done some wrong things, and I just cut them off and shunned them, say, I won't work with you, you're bad, you're wrong, like, that would be wrong of me. I wouldn't be doing God's work. I wouldn't be doing God's work, So I don't breed fear. I don't breed hate. I breed love. And I truly believe, honestly, to a certain extent, though, I don't agree like that, I'm talking like murderers and stuff and pedophiles. That's a different story. But sometimes when we have gone off the beaten path in our life and we've done some things that were wrong, like you can heal from that. You can come back from that, And there's so many people that are pushed out and learnt to feel like they're not worthy of being here. There's people that take their lives because of the hate. And I understand it's not just religion. I understand that. But my point is that there is a lot of it in religion. But God is love. When I connect to God, I feel God's love flowing through every pore of my body, through my spirit, that high vibrational of love. And that is what God is of. That is what God wants us to experience. He wants us to be able to connect with him or her, however you want to perceive it, and bringing people into a space of love and not of hate and away from the divides in the world. That will make a difference. That will make a difference. And you know what? From this point onwards, I'm going to let my voice be heard.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that we're probably going to get some stick for some of the things that we say.
It's going to happen.
It's got to be said.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to be said. It will fall on the right ears that the people that need to hear it.
Mm-hmm.
Because some people, when they're embarking in their spiritual journey, they start doing so well. And then they take on the whole brainwashing of other people. Like, that's wrong. That's like,
Mm-hmm.
scares them back into their shell again.
Mm-hmm.
And they become operating at a fraction of themselves. Like, if I would have stayed in fear all of my life of my gifts, I would not be the person that sat before you today.
Mm-hmm.
I never used to be this version of me. I was stuck in my pain. My heart was bruised. I've been through it. But I'm living proof that you can heal. I'm living proof that you can grow and evolve and be empowered and find your light. And that is what I'm all about. And I'll keep making my voice heard until it gives other people a voice too. And that's why I feel so passionate about us creating this platform to give us a voice. And in turn, we can give other people a voice as well.
Yeah, I see it as like planting seeds, like we're farming. So, this might not resonate 100% for you, but this little seed that we're going to be throwing out there, it's going to grow. Might not see it right now, but as you progress and you start seeing different signs and different situations where logically you're like, okay, brings you back to this moment or this information, you're going to be able to put it all together. It's going to start making sense.
Definitely. And what I learned as a healer, that you can't save everybody.
No.
You can't force someone to wake up.
Mm-mm.
All you can do is plant seeds. And it's up to them whether they're going to grow them and what those seeds are going to grow into. So all we can do is plant seeds. And that is what we're doing today. And the people that are meant to receive these messages, they'll feel something within their soul, because all of this is guided, and everything that we speak about is guided. But we just want you guys to step into your power, to see the bigger picture, to come into a space of love and stop shaming yourself. Stop shaming yourself for things that you've done in the past. Stop beating yourself up. Stop dimming your light and being a fraction of the person that you was born to be, your purpose. Doing a fraction of your purpose. It's time for the world to wake up, and this is what is happening in this mass awakening. And we are here to guide people through that.
Definitely. So what is your definition of spiritual awakening?
My definition of spiritual awakening, the best way I can describe that is waking up from a deep sleep that you didn't even know that you was in, that you've been in your whole life, where you didn't question your existence, where you accepted everything that was put upon you. You took on things from other people to be your truth. And you thought that the world that you had always experienced, that was all it is. And when you have a spiritual awakening, which can be triggered by various things. And I think we'll go into that deeper in another podcast, because now we're nearing the end. So we will cover more of this in our next episode. But when you have a spiritual awakening, it's all of a sudden waking up to the universe, waking up to infinite possibilities, waking up to the light, waking up to your purpose, waking up to who you was born to be, and letting go of everything that you're not. When you have a spiritual awakening, it's like God forcing you to heal. It's like them whispering in your ear, you've been asleep for way too long. Wake up to the light that's within you. And waking up to that changes your life. Changes your life. And there's so much more that I could say on the topic. That was a very good question. But that's a good note to sign off with, isn't it, as well, you know, because that'll be our next thing. We've got so much to share about that topic. I know you're going through somewhat of an awakening right now, aren't you? And I've been through more than one. You guys, it's not just
I've been through more than one too, but this last one was probably the heaviest.
It's not just one awakening.
They keep coming. They keep coming.
Totally. And it's just such an incredible journey once you embark upon it. But you've got to not fear it. As long as you stay in the light, you know, as long as you stay on the path.
And that's what we're here. We're here to guide you guys to this spiritual awakening, because you without guidance is a very scary situation. You could easily get lost. You could easily fall for any false information that takes you another direction. But spiritual awakening,
even
the spiritual awakening is best to be guided with information, so you could zip in and out, even though it's tough and it's awesome once you get out and you know you have this enlightenment. But you know it's a process that you know we want to help out with. You know, make sure that we hold your hand through the process, basically.
So if you guys would like more guidance on the various things that we have to say about the whole spiritual journey and awakening and standing in your truth, then subscribe and join us on this journey. And we just hope that it helps. We hope it helps ignite that spark within you, you know, to that truth that's always within your soul. We have a compass within us that has so much divine guidance in our hearts. And if you tap into it, you'll always know the way. You'll always know the way. And that is something that you discover when you awaken. You awaken to that voice within, that guidance within you, your true North Star. And it lies within you. It's not just somewhere out there in the realms. It is within us as well, because we are part of it. So thank you so much for joining us today, guys. And thank you for co-creating this with me, Jose. And I'm looking forward to this amazing journey that we are embarking on today. And I already know it's going to be really successful. So watch this space, guys, you know. But
super excited to be here. And I am very excited to embark on this journey. Super excited.
All right, then, sending lots of love to you guys. All right. Bye.
Bye.